Kia ora. I've been working on a layout today that was created in response to a challenge on a consultant's Cricut page for Australia and New Zealanders. And this challenge uses Volume 1 Make It From Your Heart workbook, which I'm showing you here. And I've decided just to use the left-hand page pattern on this rather than the full page because I'm just working in one of the Everyday Life album pages. And I'm placing my photos similar to the pattern that's in the book. Part of this challenge is also to use Cricut Flower Market Cartridge and page number 42. And so I cut out the sort of the banner type heart or the wreath heart with this, and I cut it out both out of a darker green and a lighter green, just to see, just to merge in with the colours from the tramping track that we went on. I also went through my scraps containers and had a look at some older papers. These papers were from the holiday idea book, and so were these little squares here. They were part of the Pocket Pages pieces, and I decided after playing around for a little bit that I would trim all the pieces down to measure the 3 by 3 inches for this project. So I'm just trimming down the pocket page here and getting them all down to be that 3 by 3 measurement. I tried to go for neutral tones to help the photos stand out, but also because being out in nature, the nature of the track is that you kind of want to keep it as natural as possible. Now, to save paper here, I just used the measurements on the guide on the trimmer so that I could just cut out what I needed, not cutting out extra pieces. So I cut that as 3 by 6 because there's a light blue dotty side that works quite well with the colorways on this page too. Again, saving paper, just cutting out the 3 by 3 inches on this green paper. I think this was one of the Christmas type papers, but it works. The colours are fine, and so don't be discouraged from using your Christmas papers when it's not a Christmas layout. They can have multi-purpose or have other places and positions in pages. So playing with the different colours, choosing the best spot to keep them all on. Thinking about the colours of the photos, the positions on the page, and while I'm placing the photos on these pieces of paper, I'm actually aware that I'm going to eventually put the heart wreath on top of the papers, but I want the photos to sit on the very top of the page. So choosing some positioning, thinking about the page pattern that I've got and where the photos sit on that left-hand page pattern. So time to glue down some papers. I decided to glue down the ones that were easily poked underneath first. And I'm here using the Tombow tape runner, which I really enjoy using. I quite like that the wee piece underneath can fold over to protect the tape without having to put a whole lid on that I always seem to manage to lose if it's got a separate piece to it. While I'm covering up the holes here, I'm just going to use a hole punch later on to recreate these holes. So it's not a problem. Because you can still see the holes from the back, it's quite easy to know where they were meant to have been. While the page pattern doesn't have overlaps, they just sort of nudge up against each other neatly, I decided that I wanted to overlap mine, just to add an element of layers that you can see when you're out in the trees, especially on this root burn track that our family went on late last year. So I'm using the glue pen here, and I'm just going to put it on a few areas to position it, and then I'm going to be able to lift up pieces to stick it all down properly later on. So just wanted to sort of get a little bit of tackiness to get it onto the darker green so that I can work with these two pieces together more. Lining up the pages so that I can place the heart wreaths on it nice and comfortably. And while I did try and keep those sort of holes that were in the wreath together, perfect fit, very fluky but perfect. Getting that stuck down. And here I am just working on the pieces that came up and pressing them down. Nice shot of my hair. And by turning the page over, I'm able to line it up with the cutter because it's got a lovely little wire line that tells you exactly where the cut will be. And so I was able to line that up perfectly, ready for trimming off the other side of the heart so I can stick it on the other piece of the paper that will eventually go in one of my everyday life albums. And again, just adding the little bits from the glue pen just to stick these pieces down so they sit nice and snug on the page. And sticking down the photos of my children. We hadn't actually gone on an overnight tramp together as a family. I know my husband's taken them away at the odd time, but normally when I've had other things on, like scrapbooking weekends or other retreats. But for this one, we actually all got to go together, which was pretty cool. We went with a group of other people that we have met along the way, which was pretty awesome. The kids enjoyed it more because there were a few other youth there as well. They probably would have got a bit bored with just my husband's and my company. The Let's Go is another lettering cut from the Flower Market Cartridge, and I cut this out using the Close to My Heart black cardstock. So I could stop here, could stick it down and add my journaling, but I just felt it needed a little bit more. One of the examples of the patterns had a little bit of an ink splatter, but I just sort of felt that fitting with being out in the bush and on the root burn area, there were lots of leaves and plants, so I thought that the leaves acrylics stamps would be perfect for this page. And you can find this in our annual ideas book. And so just using the foam from the back of the stamps, I was able to get a good impression when I inked down using the black archival ink. So positioning that carefully. I was a bit worried overlapping the paper layers, but it's still stamped beautifully with the stamp backing there, protecting the page. Or protecting the impression area. So I haven't actually used this stamp set before. This was my first time using it. So this is the Capture This Day to Day stamp, and I quite liked it because of the journaling lines and things, but it's also got months of the year, and I just found these really cute little scallops, and I thought I would use that using the olive ink. The pattern on the page sort of has a strip along the top left and the bottom right, and so I thought, right, I'm going to just play with this and use the stamp instead of the strip of paper. Again, the olivey colour just fits with the natural environment that we were in when these photos were taken. So again, using this backing mat, using the journaling lines, and I stamped these twice. There's 3 different lengths of journaling lines that are available in this set. I just used the shortest ones and didn't do them evenly because when you're out in nature, nothing's really perfect. And so the glue pen comes out again using with the Let's Go lettering. And sticking this down on the page. Again, could stop here, could leave the layout as it is, but I just decided that I needed to put the date of the adventure on there, or at least the month and the year, so that in future years when we look back on it, it will be there too. So I'll stamp that on later on, again using the Capture This Day to Day stamp, but just adding my journaling, adding some notes about what we were doing, where we were going. I've actually got quite a few other photos I want to use from this tramping adventure, which is part of why I have put this in an everyday life or everyday moments album, and that way I can collect the rest of our adventure together in one of these albums. final touch, the September 2016, choosing where to put it. Done.